Taigi grįžtame mes į programą ir toliau turėsime nuotolinį pranešimą, nuotolinį susitikimą. Na, prie virtualių susitikimų mes jau pripratome, ar ne, atrodo nieko nebėra ypatingo. Nuotoliniai renginiai pastaruosius jau galima sakyti 2 metus taip pat jau nieko įspūdingo, bet išgirsime, na, kad tie susitikimai nuotoliniai gali būti ir kitokie ir dar iki pandeminiais laikais apie Minecraft fanus ir kaip jie sugebėjo tai padaryti. Tai apie tai plačiau papasakos daktaras Nikas Watsonas savo pranešime Spaceships, Explosions and Minecraft Modding, an Unconventional Fan Convention. Mr. Watson, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great. The floor is yours, and we are waiting for your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Nick Watson, and it says I can't share my screen. It says host disabled screen sharing.
Just a second. We will fix that. How about now?
Looks good.
Great. We see your presentation.
Okay. So, like I said, I'm Nick Watson, and this is Spaceships, Explosions, and Minecraft Modding. A few years ago, I found myself at a very unusual sort of fan convention. So first, I'm going to say a few words about how I got there. I started graduate school in 2009 and finished in 2019. And I spent most of the intervening time doing meticulous and labor-intensive research. My PhD is in game studies. That's a real thing you can do. We look mostly at digital games, formal structures, production processes, player practices, and the culture that surrounds them. I wrote my doctoral dissertation on a niche indie game called Minecraft, made by Swedish game developer Mojang and published by Microsoft. You might not have heard of it, but it does have a scrappy and vibrant player community. If you've been living under a rock for the past decade, such as this rock here, that's great. You know all about Minecraft. If not, here's what the game is about. You explore a world made up of cubic blocks and collect stuff. Once you have stuff, you can use it to craft other stuff, and then you can build stuff. Sometimes there are bad guys who want to prevent you from getting stuff or destroy the stuff you have. There's a common perception that Minecraft is a kid's game, but plenty of adults play, and really adults are responsible for making it so wildly successful in the first place. Minecraft went viral in 2010, back when it was still in a glitchy beta state, largely because of YouTubers. Some people trace it all back to this fan video, Minecraft Fire WTFFFFFF, in which this hapless noob accidentally on purpose lights a fireplace in his wooden house and then watches in horror as everything goes up in flames. But the real genius behind Minecraft isn't any one YouTuber, programmer, or even studio. Minecraft's success is driven by its radical, complete, and continuous reinvention by its fans, especially its modders. Game modders are players and fans who make mods, put them online for other people to download. Mods are like add-ons. They're bits of software that you shoehorn into a game to change how it works. Modders did a lot of heavy lifting for Mojang in the early days. They unofficially patched bugs, enhanced performance, added new gameplay elements, some of which were later officially incorporated into the game. Using mods can really change the game for you, especially if you use a large mod pack, which is a collection of many mods. Sometimes they are even compatible with each other. Mods can give you more stuff to collect, and more stuff that you can craft and build with it, more ways to collect stuff, and more interesting and efficient ways to process the stuff you get into other, more useful stuff, which usually means you end up with a lot of stuff. Sometimes there are new places to explore, and new people to meet who might or might not be friendly. While generally tolerant of mods, Mojang has never officially supported modding. For years, they said they were eventually going to release a modding API, an application programming interface, that is a framework that makes it easy to make mods and plug them into the game, but they haven't done so and probably never will. So modders are on their own, hacking the game directly. And as a result, they are sort of somewhere between gratitude and resentment. Now, I must make a short digression to talk about Minecon. In 2010, a bunch of players got together unofficially on a multiplayer server. They did mini games, building competitions, and obstacle races. Mojang took the idea and made an official product-specific promotional convention out of it. They've held it with in-person events most years since 2011. It's become a slick, professionally choreographed media event with celebrity appearances and €100 ticket prices. So in 2015, a bunch of modders who couldn't or didn't want to go to Minecon launched their own alternative, going back to the con's roots as an in-game multiplayer event. At the drop of a casual joke on Twitter, they went from 0 to a functioning mod pack and virtual convention center in 18 hours. Better Than Minecon was born, although they later took to calling it BTM, or sometimes Bug Testing Marathon, because they were concerned about using the name Minecon and because, well, mods are buggy. They ran the event several more times over the years. Modders submitted their mods to be included and showcased in the pack and were invited to build demo booths on the game server. They also had various presentations and Q&A panels like any good convention does, right? For my research, I went behind the scenes at BTM 2017 called BTM Moon and learned some important lessons for running virtual cons. Now that same year, Mojang decided to stop running an in-person Minecon and instead rebranded it as Minecon Earth, a global live streamed event. Well, really an extended advertisement. Which is why modders called their 3-day event BTM Moon and held it in space. This was before doing conventions and meetings online was cool, by the way. Although not before space was cool, space has always been cool. Now, I'm here to tell you what I learned so that you too might one day run your own convention online in Minecraft with 150 mods, because everyone aspires to do that, right? So here is everything you need to run the perfect convention in Minecraft. Number 1, panic. Like I said, BTM 2015 came together in 18 hours. In 2017, they had more like 8 weeks of prep time. So they used it judiciously, pacing out the workload to keep it manageable and leaving plenty of time to address unforeseen problems. I'm just kidding. They did 90% of the work in a frantic last-minute rush. During the opening event, the main organizer, Copy Girl, said, "The funny thing is that everything happened in the last 2 days. Nobody really bothered 7 weeks ago." Every BTM still feels like all the difficult work is crammed into 18 hours. It's a curse. Just to make sure everybody was going sufficiently crazy, they put a big countdown clock in the game. That way, you knew exactly how much time you had left to fix the bug that was making your mod crash the whole server and build your demo booth. The second, somewhat related ingredient, chaos. That means bugs, real or imagined. It means mods not always playing nice with each other. It means the server crashes more than once. Actually, the first BTM with only 18 hours of prep had just 2 server crashes. In contrast, the 2017 con had already broken this record before the opening keynote began. "We can't have the least amount of crashes," Copy Girl told the guests. but we can still try to go for the most amount of crashes. Chaos means things sort of getting built on a whim with little central planning. If people see something that needs to be fixed, they fix it and leave a sign letting the booth owner know what they did. Chaos means pranks and shenanigans. Sometimes it means people running around all over the place, chucking tomatoes at each other. Sometimes it means that while testing their mod demo, a team of modders accidentally teleports everybody into a weird tiny room with psychedelic walls. I overheard one guest saying, this is a mess. And another replied, no, this is BTM. According to CopyGirl, Zal, the original founder of BTM, would probably say that chaos makes BTM what it is. It's not that there are no rules or planning. It's just that no plan survives contact with modded Minecraft or with Minecraft modders. Next, panels. Every good convention needs some talks or panels. In addition to Zol's keynote address, in which he opined on the state of the art and what the future might hold for Minecraft modding, there were about a half dozen demo and Q&A sessions with mod makers, which took place here in this auditorium. The panel room was roughly central, next to the spawn plaza, where people appeared when they first logged on. That was a kind of a nexus between the other areas of the convention center and a place to hang out. And it was easy to find. But outside of that, chaos. Good luck finding your way around. Which brings us to number 4, a proper floor plan. Or, well, maybe just a floor plan, proper or not. Failing that, you should probably at least have a floor. The convention center was a giant space station. Big booths were housed in attached spaceships, domes, and other structures, while smaller ones had their own compartments in the main body. Each booth showed off the features of a particular mod, and some were more elaborate and interactive than others. They were broadly organized into 5 thematic categories, each with its own zone in the station. First, the industrial hub, which took up about half the space. CopyGirl designated this area for mechanical and industrial feeling mods. These run the gamut from high-tech futuristic contraptions to low-tech steam age machinery. Personally, I like to further subdivide them into gadget mods and tech tree mods. Gadget mods are largely self-contained technological devices, useful for performing tasks that are already in the game. This, for example, is Turret Mod Rebirth, which adds automated gun turrets that can shoot monsters, protecting the player and providing an easy way to get monster loot. The context for turret use, fighting the bad guys, already exists in the game, as do the materials you need to build the turrets. In contrast, tech tree mods add entirely new systems and experiential threads of gameplay progression. One starts by building simple devices which gradually enable one to tech up to ever more powerful and complex machinery. Novel energy production, transportation frameworks, and multi-block processing chains are common features of these mods. The second smaller zone was dubbed the Magical District, home to mods that deal in mystical forces. Now, once you strip off the veneer in terms of the underlying game mechanics, these aren't so different from industrial tech mods. And they also have gadget and tech tree subtypes. What's more, most tech mods have a sci-fi feel and very few claim to be scientifically realistic. So the difference is mostly a matter of theming and lore. Perhaps you've heard Clarke's Law, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. But for Minecraft mods, they are distinguishable. Technology whirs and beeps. magic, sparkles, and chimes. Shiny. The Nature Dome was a large glass sphere designed to house expansive terrestrial environments, most notably Twilight Forest, which is a magic-themed mod based on the exploration and exploitation of a mystical alternate dimension. Since the environment is the whole point, they needed a pretty big space to show the mod. Almost an entire quarter section of the station was devoted to a single family of mods, Open Computers and its many, many add-ons. This is a mod that turns your Minecraft game into a virtual computer with its own operating system and programming languages and terminals that you can use in-game. And of course, as soon as anybody makes a virtual computing system, it seems the first thing they try to do is recreate classic video games with it. Here is Amadornis, BTM Moon's official Twitch live streamer, using a real computer running Minecraft to use an in-game computer to play Tetris. Finally, there was the fun zone for booths that didn't seem to fit anywhere else. This included things like an indoor car racetrack and a backpack dispensary with monsters modeling the wares. The most important part of the whole station, of course, was my booth. Originally, I had emailed Zal to ask if it was okay to come to BTM for some people watching and interviews for my research, but he invited me to set up my own booth. Unfortunately, I am terrible at interior decorating and exterior decorating. I was trying to make a giant Hubble Space Telescope. See, there's a reflector hanging from those struts. And then I put a nice office and some comfy seats inside, because this was going to be my anthropologist's field station, although it was really more just a way to get people's attention so that they would read the signs and contact me for an interview, since I was too busy looking at everybody else's booths to spend much time in my own. Anyway, I guess my clumsy artistry violated the local homeowner's covenant, because I came back the next day to find my telescope had been completely redesigned. Sleek angled panels and bevels, tasteful interior plating, and lights. The reflector was replaced by an elaborate control panel. So much for Hubble Space Telescope, which is probably just as well. My design had been so bad, the fixer hadn't even recognized it as a telescope. Made the shuttle more pleasing to the eye, he said. Well, he's not wrong. And it shows that despite the chaos, the convention organizers were trying to cultivate a consistent aesthetic sensibility. The makeover probably helped me pick up a couple more interviewees too. But back to the big picture of the space station. There were 3 stacked floors, or perhaps you might call them decks, but there weren't stairs or ladders or turbo lifts. Instead, gravity shafts. Walk up to one and you'd be shifted from floor to wall, so you could go up or down to the next level, or you step back onto the floor again. Of course, it wasn't always easy to tell where the gravitational fields were going to change, which was a little disorienting. And sometimes there would be a lag when you entered a shaft, so you'd fall splat. It's understandable, therefore, that some folks might not want to walk everywhere. Fortunately, other conveyances were available. Number 5, transit. A good virtual space station convention needs express spaceships for getting around. And by spaceships, I mean trains. Minecraft has long had minecarts and rails, but they are a limited system that gets boring after a while. What you see here is from the realist train mod, Immersive Railroading, which has totally cornered the Minecraft playing model train hobbyist crossover market. There was a giant roundhouse with engines of various vintages and an assortment of rolling stock, so that you could take apart and reassemble in a semi-realistic manner using these comically gigantic wrenches, which apparently are a real thing. There was also a loop of track surrounding the entire convention center and passenger trains that would make an automated circuit stopping at stations in the various zones. So people used the trains to get around and for nothing else. They definitely didn't play chicken on the tracks during Immersive Railroading's panel demo. Nor did they ask the mod's creator how fast the trains could go. Nor did they request that a spare train be rolled out of its siding and put on the track. And under no circumstances did they try to make the first train crash into the second train just to see what would happen. And why shouldn't you play chicken at a virtual Minecraft con? What's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst that could happen is you get hit by a train, die, drop all your inventory, and thus lose all the sweet freebies you gathered from the convention booths. And that is the sixth thing you need for your convention: swag, loot, free stuff. Whether it's cool space helmets, backpacks, snacks, or smartphones. Actually, the snacks are crucial because players need to eat in Minecraft. Without food kiosks, the guests would starve to death. And the so-called fruit phone was used for branding different mods. We're talking hundreds of mods, so thousands of unfamiliar building blocks that do not exist in unmodded Minecraft. If you see something you like, you probably want to know what mod it's from so you can download it for your own game. Point the fruit phone at it, and it tells you exactly what you're looking at. And because not everybody wants to keep all of the goodies they get, there are trash cans. Sure, people could just chuck stuff in a corner or eject it into space, but loose items create lag on Minecraft servers. These trash cans, programmed to efficiently delete large quantities of deposited stuff, helped keep the game from grinding to an absolute halt. On to item 7, a perfect foil, something to contrast yourself with. BTM was not just something to do for the people who couldn't go to Minecon, especially since there was no in-person Minecon to go to in 2017. BTM was a gesture of resistance and solidarity among modders and mod users. Minecon had claimed the entirety of Earth for their event, so modders called their event Moon. One guest suggested that BTM Moon is a satellite orbiting Minecon Earth, doing occasional orbital strikes. An organizer mused, "I thought it was about how we'd be mooning the Mojang guys by doing something cooler than they were." Whether or not traditional Minecon had appealed to this crowd, they were largely unimpressed with the streaming gimmick and accompanying rhetoric about how it made Minecon inclusive. They actually had a group viewing of the 90-minute Minecon livestream in the panel room on day 2 using screens from the Open Computers mod. Attendees gathered to watch and occasionally mock, criticize, and roll their eyes at the celebrity host's pre-packaged jokes. Descriptors included plenty of cringe and gloriously bad. One of Minecon's main attractions that year was a mob vote. Mojang proposed 4 designs for new monsters to add to the game, putting them up to a fan vote. Whichever one would get added to the game in the next update. BTMers were interested in the outcome. One of them called it the first not stupid thing they're promoting. But they wondered, Why couldn't Mojang just include all 4 new creatures? It didn't seem so hard. Modders themselves have been adding colorful and complex new creatures to the game for years, often working solo, without pay or professional development tools. So when Mojang's talking head on the live stream claimed that the company needed to focus on just one mob to ensure quality, the BTM crowd wasn't buying it. Modders would end up implementing all 4 ideas within a couple of months anyway, they said. They'd even have a version of the winning mod that will be better than the official one. One modder quipped, "It might be a pale mockery of mods that have existed for almost a decade, but they're trying." Some modders were actually a bit nervous about what Minecon 2017 would have in store. There were rumors that Mojang was finally going to introduce the long-promised modding API. Modders were conflicted. Official support to make modding easier, great, except that by this time, they had already built and invested in their own tools, which were very powerful. Expectations for an official modding toolkit were low. It probably wouldn't be as versatile. What would be much worse is if Microsoft decided to crack down on all the unofficial ways of making mods, because that sounded like a very Microsoft sort of thing to do. Modders wanted to see what Mojang was going to offer, but didn't want it to disrupt what they were already doing. "It could try to rain on our parade," said Zoll. "If my hunches are right, then for the Minecraft community, some tougher times might be coming." His hunches weren't quite right. Microsoft announced a plugin authoring framework for Bedrock edition of Minecraft, a completely separate product from the original Java edition where all this modding takes place. The in-game version of the Minecon livestream was a total disaster. It skipped, jittered, repeated the same scenes and phrases over and over again, and ran almost 20 minutes behind, not to mention the terrible picture quality. Minecraft is not optimized to stream video into the game. Who knew, right? It seems that many people just muted the in-game audio and watched with a web browser. In his closing remarks, Zoll reflected that the main attraction was not what it was supposed to be. Thankfully, nothing of value was lost. Nothing indeed, since Minecon itself was fairly anticlimactic. Probably the most exciting part was when the stream glitches turned it into a meme generator, amplifying the most ridiculous aspects of the performance, and much, much more. Which brings us to number 8, memes. If you don't have memes, you don't have an online convention. It's that simple. BTM had its share of memes, both borrowed and homemade, but the most prominent was flamingos. I don't know why, I wasn't there when it started, but at some point, Copy Girl made an ornamental flamingo mod, and now they've reappeared at every BTM. There were bobbling birds scattered throughout the space station, and a swaying flamingo on the loading screen. And the greatest flamingo of all, DJ Flamin' Go. Here he is at his music booth in the fun zone, surrounded by mod-provided machines for streaming music into the game. In the final hours of the convention, folks gathered here for a wild dance party, complete with fire and lightning and tiny horses and backpack-wearing penguins. Multiple people were trying to control the DJ's music player at the same time. It all had, as one guest remarked, the BTM feeling of utter chaos. It paused only to make time for the closing ceremony, which was held in a lunar dome. We actually finally made it to the moon. And in due course, that devolved into its own disco acid trip. Around this time, people started whispering about mischief. Did you say something about blowing up the moon? We can blow up the moon. Which they did, because they had the final ingredient needed for a successful Minecraft convention. bombs. Whether it takes BTMers 18 hours or 8 weeks to build the convention center, it only takes them about 2 hours to destroy it utterly. The blasts usually start out small, but they escalate. As holes started appearing in the spawn plaza, someone implored, "Please don't destroy stuff." But Zal, the founder of BTM, countered with, "Please actually destroy stuff." And the chief builder started setting her own bombs while noting that kind of the point of BTM is to blow up spawn. Now, organizers had the foresight to disable the use of certain very destructive devices within the station proper. In particular, these nuclear bomb blocks cannot explode thanks to a configuration setting. This wasn't true on the lunar dome, though. Of course, all the people vaporized in that blast were just sent back to the spawn plaza to behold even more destruction afoot. There was a moment when suddenly the floor opened under me, and then the walls. The entire station just started dissolving before my eyes. I was fortunate enough to be in God mode at the time. My space telescope was not so lucky. People were fairly amazed, and some joked that at least it would get rid of the lag. They wondered aloud what it was. Some thought it was something called a draconic reactor, but it wasn't. Those had been disabled. The perpetrator owned up. Actually, it wasn't the draconic reactor. That wasn't enabled. It was the chaos crystal, which isn't disabled. Copy Girl's response, "Oh, thanks for telling us now." Good thing no troublemaker thought to try to use a chaos crystal before the designated blowing stuff up time. It did mean that I got to have a figure in my dissertation labeled "Effects of the Chaos Crystal Detonation." So, crossed that off my bucket list. Needless to say, the ingredients for a good virtual Minecraft con are not the same as those for an in-person sci-fi con, so I think we can all breathe easy knowing there isn't a chaos crystal about to obliterate the entire solar system. You also don't need to go to a convention like BTM, nor write a doctoral dissertation in order to enjoy and celebrate Minecraft modding yourself. If you already own Minecraft, you can download a free program like AT Launcher or Multi-MC. Click a few buttons to download a mod pack that looks interesting to you, and you can be playing within minutes. Modders took $1 billion media property and made it their own, and you can make it your own too. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you. I have a question. Okay, I still don't get Minecraft even after this presentation. And what is your view? Why does Minecraft attracts so many people and so many modding loving people? What makes it so special?
That's the $2 billion question, right? Literally, because that's how much Minecraft sold to Microsoft for. But so a lot of people have tried to answer this question. There are books written about it. I have a book of my own, hopefully coming out next year, that will also try to answer it. But I think there are a number of things. One is it's kind of Lego-like. So, you know, Lego is very popular, and this is like a virtual Lego set. And that also not only makes it fun to play with, but it kind of invites people to start changing it, because it gives you this promise that here's this world that you can change and reshape, and you can take something out and swap something else in and customize it. And so if you can do that with the world in the game, why can't you do that with the program itself, right? I do think that, so it has probably been modded so much because it was so unfinished when it became popular. And so there were lots of gaps. Like I said, there were bugs, there were features people wanted, and they just made them themselves. And it was written in Java, which is a programming language that is pretty easy to reverse engineer. So they could hack it and start doing stuff with less effort than it would usually take. So that meant there were a lot of mods early on, and those mods, I think, drove the creativity to places it might not have otherwise gone.
So basically,
yeah.
The gaps and the bugs also became the strength in a way of the Minecraft.
Yes, it created an opportunity for modders to step in, and then I think the modders were the real asset that that Mojang sort of almost accidentally stumbled upon and realized, hey, we can use this, and we don't even really have to give them tools. They're actually maybe happier without tools sometimes. And another thing that helped, I think, it was in the right place at the right time. YouTube videos, YouTube, the amateur creation scene, let's play videos, that kind of thing was really taking off at around that time. So it was just sort of this exciting new game at the same time as there was this exciting new platform, and the two kind of helped promote each other. So Minecraft helped make YouTube even bigger, and YouTube helped make Minecraft big.
Do you have questions? Yes, we do. Okay.
Can I ask a question, and then I will give you the mic? So with all the various talented modders who pour their visions and their ideas into the games in form of mods, would you draw the line somewhere when the modded product becomes completely detached from the original purpose of the game, from the original vision of the game? Like, when you describe this convention, I don't think Minecraft original creators thought it would happen, but it did. And it didn't happen because of them, but because of other people. So is there the line where mods are a completely original thing by themselves, by itself?
Great question. Absolutely, there is, I don't think, any way anymore to say where Minecraft stops and mods begin. There isn't any one thing that you can call Minecraft. There's sort of as many different things called Minecraft as you can make by mixing and matching thousands of mods, which means probably trillions of different Minecrafts. And I think it is no longer possible to say, this is a game that was made by Mojang. This is a game that was made by thousands of people around the world over the course of 10 years and is still being made. And yeah, I don't think anybody expected it. Back in the early days, the original creator, Notch, had a design philosophy statement on his website, and he said, I want to make this melting pot of emergent gameplay. And so what he meant by that was he would listen to ideas and people would play and they would discover fun things. And if he thought they were fun, he would incorporate them into the game. So it was community based, but he still had in mind that there was this one thing that was going to be Minecraft, and it would be flexible and change, but it was still a thing you could point to and say that is Minecraft. And that's definitely not true anymore.
We have another question. Yes.
Yeah, maybe it would be more like comment about popularity of the game. I'm working with disabled children, and almost all autistic children loves Minecraft. And I was asking myself why. So yeah, it's firstly like Lego. And the other thing, it is giving possibility to control environment in 100%. Children can't do this in real world, so they are doing this in game. And for this reason, for autistic child, logically to do things and to construct things is most important. So really for them, this Minecraft world is something where they are living, like real life.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I couldn't hear, you're a bit quiet. The last part of your question.
When autistic child is able to talk, I'm asking why you like Minecraft most. Usually they are saying because in that world, I am God. I can do everything. In real world, I don't know anything. So also I think it's a big part of why it is so popular in between children.
You were able to hear that?
Yeah. There is most of what's written about Minecraft is about child development and education. And I would say there is something appealing about being God and being in control, that most people want to do that at least some of the time. And mods especially let you step back onto another level and say, I'm even more in control. If I don't like something about how this game works, what it's doing, I can change it. And people make arguments about how it should be changed.
That's probably especially true in the case where the person, and maybe in the case of autistic children, but maybe in general, in the case where people feel out of control in their real life, where they feel there are too many things going out of control, and then this is one place where you can say, I can control everything. I can control the walls around me. I can control everything the way I want it to be.
Yes.
So I guess I wanted to ask that year that this Moon convention happened, what was the number of attendees compared to the number of Minecraft Earth?
So I think I don't remember. I had the numbers, but then I replaced them with up-to-date numbers. But there were at least over 100 million sales by 2017, although some of those were the Bedrock version, which was on Xbox and Windows 10. So that was a separate product, really. The number of people at the convention was, I think it peaked at one point around 80, which is a lot to have on a Minecraft server. Most of the time it was holding around 20, 30 people online, which is still a lot to have on a Minecraft server. They, except for the professional ones that make lots of money, they don't really hold up well under that kind of stress, especially when modded. But the thing is that, we've got a small number of people participating in this event, but a significant portion of them are these folks who are making mods that then get 10 million downloads. There was one of the another co-organizer of BTM who was also a modder. I interviewed him and asked her what is one of the most rewarding things about modding for you, and he told me this story about how he was on an airplane on a transatlantic flight, and he just looks over and he sees this kid with his laptop watching a YouTube video, and in that YouTube video, some guy with 100 million subscribers is doing a demo playing Minecraft with this modder's mod, and he's thinking, that's really neat. This random person on the plane is watching this video about the thing that I made. So they have a tremendous amount of influence. And for me, as part of my research, I was saying I want to look at, this is like a a laboratory or a playground where modern culture gets made, and modern culture is what in turn shapes player culture.
Okay, I also wanted to ask, so after 2017, then generally for other reasons, things started becoming more online in general. So what was the future of these sort of Minecraft conventions after that?
So they stopped calling it BTM, and I think one of the reasons was that they were increasingly concerned that Minecon would be trademarked. Although Mojang has also now since stopped calling it Minecon and is now calling it Minecraft Live or something like that. But they did have more conventions. An interesting thing happened in 2018 where so it's a bit of a convoluted story, but the community made modding toolkit that almost everybody used to make mods was called Minecraft Forge. And with Minecraft 1.13, which came out in 2018, there were massive changes introduced to the code, which meant that Forge needed a complete rewrite. And that took them about a year and a half. And during that time, Zol, who, the guy who founded BTM in the first place, made his own competitor to Forge called Fabric. And it was open source and people started working on that. And Fabric was available before Forge was ready for 1.14 in 2019. So it took them that long. There was a year where everybody was still making mods for older versions. But the convention is now called ModFest, and it's all Fabric mods because you can't really, so far, you can't have Fabric and Forge on the same server. So I think because a lot of that community was pushing Fabric at that time, it sort of changed to being another software infrastructure. But otherwise, I'm sure they still have flamingos. Much of the culture is the same. There are also mods that are made specifically for ModFest, as sort of, I made this cool thing because ModFest was on Halloween. So, not me. I mean, modders will say, yeah, I made this mod, this spooky mod for ModFest Halloween, and then those go online. And so a lot of new ideas get generated that way too.
And we have the last question, so please.
This is quite a simple question, honestly, compared to all of the others. Personally, when I play Minecraft, I'm usually looking for something that is basically groundbreaking, like I can't really find anything else anymore. And I was wondering, assuming that you still know some kind of mods, I would like to ask some kind of mod recommendations where if the line between Minecraft and mods was still existent and was very thin, then it's already completely broken on that other mod.
You're saying you recommendations for mods that break the distinction or that don't?
Basically, yeah. Like, I'm not sure if someone has heard of it, but maybe there's RL Craft might be a good comparison, where it just basically takes the entire gameplay and throws it to the trash can and just ruins it.
So like total conversions. Yeah, I don't play a lot with those myself. But well, actually, I don't play Minecraft a lot for fun anymore because I do it mostly for work. So I play other things for fun, but there is something, it's a few years old now, but it's still floating around out there, called Terra Firma Craft, which is really about sort of primitive survival. At first, you start in the Stone Age and you have to nap your own flint tools, and you have to worry about your temperature and whether you're going to get hypothermia. So it really kind of goes through these stages of survival and technology. And it's also very tactile, which is something that Minecraft it's mostly just like you get a block and sometimes you put the block in this magic machine and it spits out another block, right? So Terra Firma Craft had a lot more sort of using mouse gestures to manipulate things, like you map the tool by clicking the little dots to get rid of the parts of flint you don't want to leave behind the shape of the knife. There's actually a spin-off, a separate game called Vintage Story, which has sort of taken many of the aspects of Terra Firma Craft and another mod, I don't remember what it's called, and made their own Minecraft-like game out of it. But yeah, I look for the keyword total conversions. I don't know what's out there that's new. There's something recently that has to do with doing geology and putting ores in places that are realistic and putting them in minerals that are apparently realistic. So I haven't tried that, but that might be another sort of changing things up. I mean, most of them are still going to be about playing in a world with blocks, unless you want to, play Tetris on your Open Computers terminal, which I guess is also a total conversion. Does that help?
I guess yes. So
okay. Thank
you. Our time's up. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for introduction into the Minecraft community, into a deeper introduction. So best of luck. Thank you again and goodbye.
See you everyone.